If you've clicked on this video, then you want to get rich. And unlike everyone else on YouTube who will tell you that you need to wake up at 5 a.m, you need to hustle harder because you're probably not hustling enough, I actually want to flip the switch and tell you the lazy way of how to get rich. And if you haven't met me before, my name's Diosa. I am a doctor and a girlie who jumped on the property ladder at the age of 24, who is very big on using your 9 to 5 to build the dream life that you want for yourself. So if you're trying to get wealthy the lazy way, stay tuned. Step 1, automate everything. You want to automate paying yourself first. If you have been here before, then you know that I treat myself as a bill. Before my other bills get paid, I must pay the me bill first. And the me bill is basically money that I have said I'm going to put aside every single month towards investing. And I don't need to think about it. It is automatically going to happen on the day that I get paid. And I'm less likely to fall into temptation of spending the money because it's gone before I can even register it. There are loads of different platforms out there that you can use to invest. You've got the trading 212s, you've got the free trades, you've got Vanguard, and so on and so forth. And all you have to do basically is literally just set up a direct debit and then pick the thing that you want to invest in, and it just takes the thinking outside of it. And here's a fun fact: if you were to invest £300 a month into an index fund, as an example, that returns 7% every year, you would have over £350,000 after 30 years, and 108,000 would have been your money, and then the remaining amount would have just be the interest you would have incurred on consistently putting the £300 aside every single month and benefiting from something known as compounding. So the cheat code is automate how much you want to invest every single month into whatever asset class you have chosen for yourself, and then be consistent. Step 2 is owning things that pay you. A lot of people will say that you need to work a lot more, but I can't lie, in life, trading your time for money isn't the most optimal thing. We only have 24 hours in a day. You can't add a 25th hour. And if you're only making money by exchanging your time for money, you are limiting yourself to how much you can make. The lazy way is owning things which make money for you without you having to do the work yourself. It's giving girl math. Rental properties are an example of this. If you have a rental property and someone is a tenant in it, regardless of whether or not you decided to go to work that day, your tenant will need to pay their rent as part of their monthly contract or yearly contract or whatever the setup is between you and your tenant. If you have a business, as long as the business is functioning as it should be and marketing is great and the product and services that you're offering are valuable, people will pay for that, and that is a separate entity to you. If we look at stocks, especially dividend paying stock, again, another no-brainer. That business is making a profit, and rather than keeping that profit, they're saying, you know what, we're going to give our investors some money to thank them for investing in us, and you get that money in the form of dividends payment regardless of whether or not you went to work on Monday morning. The aim of the game is paying yourself first and then using that money to own things that make money for you regardless of whether or not you decided to go to work that day. I clocked this when I saw a lot of doctors struggling financially, and I just thought, oh my goodness, I don't want this to be me. I believe that you can enjoy your career and lead the life that you want. I used my interest in interior design and property to jump into the property ladder, and that's how I got my first property at the age of 24. And then since then I've been able to get more properties that I absolutely love transforming and flipping. The third step is spending less, but not spending less in how you think. When we talk about budgeting and cutting down lifestyles, sometimes people think of the extreme, which is downsizing your house. So maybe you live in a 3-bed house and then having to live in a 1-bed house, but it's actually just being a bit more streamlined with your spending. If you've got loads of subscriptions, for example, let's say Netflix, Disney, Spotify, and the list goes on, but you actually don't use them that much, it could be as simple as literally streaming down your subscriptions and then taking the difference and invest in that. It could be, rather than going out to an expensive place for dinner after getting a raise, go into your local Nando's. Not that there's anything wrong with Nando's, I'm a Nando's fan myself. And then again, taking the difference in your bonus and investing it. It doesn't have to be a sufferable, crazy way of stripping down your lifestyle. Now, I will very much admit, and I have admitted already on this channel, that I have done the very extreme. I would highly not recommend going to the extreme that I went in order to cut down my expenses. But if you think about it, if you spend less, then you need to earn less to be able to hit whatever financial target target you set for yourself. I will caveat this by saying you don't want to end up having an unhealthy mindset. And by that I mean you don't want to cap your lifestyle so low and not be incentivized to work and earn more if you wanted to. The fourth step is learn passively. If you're trying to be rich, you need to think like the rich and you need to act like the rich. But in order to be able to do both of those, you need to know what the rich do. And if you don't know that already, or if you don't have a rich auntie or uncle that you can go to, there's going to be a little bit of studying involved. And I know people don't like to study or read books in this day and age, and that's okay. You can do things passively. Whilst you're going for a walk, you can listen to an audiobook that is centered on personal finance. You can listen to podcasts, you can listen to YouTube videos. If you are a person that has a long commute or you like to cook and chef up in the kitchen, rather than listen to music, can replace that time and use it to listen to a 10-minute clip or a 5-minute clip on something to do with personal finance, and then take that information and apply it. And that is where real wisdom is. Real wisdom is taking something and actually applying it to yourself so that you can be in a different situation. And I have a list of podcasts that I listen to, but my podcasts were more linked to property. So if you are watching this and you're interested in getting into property, I will put in the description box a list of podcasts that I listen to. The next thing you want to do is take advantage of free money. You don't want to leave any money that could make you more money on the table. And there are a lot of free money options that people just aren't aware about that they leave on the table. So we're going to talk about it. The first one is your pension. Most employers will match your own pension contribution. So let's say, for simple sake, you are contributing 5% of your salary towards your pension. If you have an employer that does a pension match, that means they will also contribute 5% into your pension. So if you were earning a salary of $30,000 a year, a 5% contribution from your end would be equivalent to $1,500, and then your employer would match that. Now think about it. That is happening every single year, and they're going to take that money and invest in something in order for it to grow. So depending on when you started contributing to your pension versus the age you are when you take it, you have all that space of time to benefit from something known as compounding. So hypothetically, let's say the time that you started versus the time that you became a pensionable age was 30 years. With the 5% contribution from yourself and your employer on a £30,000 salary, you and your employer would have contributed £90,000 to your pension. But remember I said they will invest the pension to get it to grow for you, and over that 30 years you would have benefited from something known as compounding, and actually that money could then be worth $250,000 or $300,000 depending on what vehicle they use to grow the money. And the crazy thing about pensions is most people don't max it out. So if you can max out your pension, that is great, because if you max it out on your end, your employer will have to match that closely if that's the grounds of your contract. So that means you end up with a lot more money later down the line, and your future self will thank your present self now for it. The other thing that people aren't aware of in the UK is something known as the lifetime ISA. If you put money into the lifetime ISA, the government will give you 25% of what you put in on an annual basis, and the maximum amount that they will give you is £1,000. So if you put £4,000 in, you will get £1,000 back. If you put £100 in, then again they'll give you 25% of that every single year. 25% is quite a really good return, and with the lifetime ISA there are two things you can do with it. You can either use it to purchase your first home, but I will say there are pros and cons of this, just because the house can't be above a certain price, and depending on the strategy that you're using to buy the house, it may not fall within the lifetime ISA. So I highly recommend reading the T's and C's before you fully commit to it. Or if it's just not applicable to you from a purchasing house perspective, you could then use it as a pension pot, and the money in there you can actually invest in things like stocks and shares. So the reason why I say that this is a lazy method is because you actually don't have to do anything. You're literally putting in whatever fraction you've agreed to put in, and then someone else is matching that same energy, but the only person who benefits from that is you. And the last option is having a side hustle. When people think side hustles, they think of a crazy big business, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that. The lazy method is literally thinking of something that you could do once, and then you don't need to do it again. Once you've put the effort in the first time, you then have an outlet for it to grow by itself. A really good example of this is people who create ebooks or planners or budgeting sheets. They will spend time creating it upfront, and then they will put it on a website, and if there's traffic, people will purchase it again and again and again, and unless you really want to update it, you actually don't need to touch the ebook. So think of lazy side hustles that you can easily do, that won't take too much brain power, that you can monetize and make money money from on the side. And remember, we said it doesn't have to be something that generates £1,000 a month. £300 a month consistently, or £200 a month consistently, really goes a long way. So yeah, that brings me to end this video. Getting rich doesn't have to be loud, it doesn't have to be hustle heavy, even though if you're trying to get there a lot faster, then I'm not gonna lie and say that you don't need to hustle. You will need to hustle and put the work in a lot more, but there are lazy methods which you can implement that mean later down the line in life you are in a much better financial position. So guys, let me know what you think of this lazy method and if I've missed anything out. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.